All right. Hey, everyone. This is the United Specialty Tradesmen podcast #1, man. And we got our guest here, Abraham Coronel, and he's a good buddy of mine. Abraham?
Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate for bringing me on as your first guest, and I'm so excited to tell you a little bit about me and my business.
Awesome, man. So let's jump right into this, man. First of all, Abraham's a stud, okay? Former Navy, former firefighter. Now he's in a business venture called, Home Care Relief Services?
Relief Home Care Services.
Relief Home Care Services. Okay, so we're going to go through his early life right now. Got a couple questions for him there, and then we'll just move right through. All right, so Abraham, welcome to the show, man. Good friend of mine, running buddy. And we're going to jump right into this. Where did you grow up, and what was your household like?
That's a deep question. So I grew up in Southern California. That's where I was born, Linwood by Long Beach. My father was an immigrant, came to this country when he was 9 years old from South America. Mm-hmm. My mother, California blonde girl, is kind of ditzy, I guess, at times, didn't really know what she was getting herself into. They married at a pretty young age, had me at a pretty young age. I just remember my dad being a cop when I was younger. My mother, she worked at a bank. She was always kind of working. So there was a lot of time where I was with my grandmother a lot. So I feel like my younger years, she was the one that kind of raised me a lot,
Okay.
But my childhood was fairly good. We had a roof over our head, we had food in our bellies, you know what I mean? The dynamic was a little chaotic at times. My father being a cop in Southern California, especially during the 90s, there was just a lot of violence, a lot of gang activity, killings, drugs, all that kind of stuff that he would see, and I don't know if maybe he had PT, I'm sure he did, and so he kind of brought that home at times. There was times where my family would fight, not my family, but my mom and dad would fight. We would hear it. There'd be times where we would get kind of our corporal punishment as well, when we'd mess up. So it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows, but I became more resilient, I think, because of my childhood. Being tough, being able to kind of like deal with life in a different way, seeing things that probably normal kids don't see, but it was tough, but I got through it,
That's good. Yeah. It's kind of funny, like the way we frame things, right? And we look at it, it's like, man, somebody can say, I had such a traumatic childhood and it messed me up. Mm-hmm. Or somebody can say, man, I had adversity that shaped and forged me, right? So it depends how we frame things, right? But that's amazing that everybody needs a little bit of that. Yeah. You need to know the world's not perfect. Hey, look, if you shelter your kids, okay, great. They had a great childhood, wonderful. Throw them out into the real world, and then whatever the world treats them like, they got to adapt now. Right. Because maybe they're overly trusting and they could be taken advantage of. Yeah. So I find that to be a huge plus in going through, like, seeing the world the way it is.
I think when I look back at it now too, that's kind of how I feel too, that I just became resilient, tough, whatever it was, just that callous mindset, where you hear about that, David Goggins talks about it. But and my childhood kind of developed pretty well. I ended up having 2 brothers, 1 sister that I grew up with. Always rambunctious, playing sports. I wrestled all throughout elementary, junior high, high school. And it shaped me into being prepared for the military. Yeah. So and in wrestling too, I was a 2-time regional champion for 3A West in Arizona, 6th in the state for 103 pounds for 3A. So I was top placer in the state. I think I was cutting weight too much my senior year, so I wasn't really wrestling at my top because I lost to kids that I shouldn't have lost to, but I beat kids that were top placers in the state. Kendrick Cothley, he was number 3 in the state. I beat him at the Camp Verde tournament. You know what I mean? So there's you look at things and man, could have done this, should have done this or whatever, but it's it was all building pieces to who I am today. And so I appreciated my childhood. I appreciated my adolescent years, and I was happy how it shaped me in a sense now that I look back at it.
No, I felt that on the mats this morning. So
Heck
Abraham and I rolled this morning at the men's group. Jiu-jitsu. And this guy's works like a dog. Like he's after it. He's after the meat, man.
That's right.
And you let him loose. Yeah, I tried, dude. You had me in your guard, and it was like you had me in a straight ankle lock. So yeah, so Abraham's had quite the upbringing with toughen him up. You know,
yeah,
did some
100%.
wrestling, and obviously he's a fighter, and he's somebody who wants to be number one. You know, whatever he does.
Always.
So that's what I love about him.
Heck
so,
yeah.
Going to just ask one or two more questions about upbringing. We want to go right through this to the early career path, but
sure.
Yeah. So, what challenges in early life helped build resilience in you later? I assume that wrestling was part of that, the way that your family structure was. But is there anything else that helped build resilience for you later?
That's a good question. I think being an older brother created that resiliency as an adult, because I was always kind of having to set the example. Mm-hmm. And so going into, in adulthood and being a parent, you realize that you're always going to be an example. You always want to be an example, and hopefully it's a good one, know?
Absolutely.
So I think that being an older brother, kind of shaped me into, just like I said, just being a good example.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Being older and being responsible and having your parents expect you to be responsible for them. I was an older brother, but my oldest brother, he was put with all the responsibility. Make sure the kids get the chores done, and he was the leader, and he had a dominant alpha type, so he leaned right into that. Do that, and come, ordering us around.
Right.
And then when he moved out, I became the guy who was the caretaker for the younger siblings. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
We're going to jump and transition right into what you had mentioned, being in the Navy and the military. What made you go into the military? Just real quick.
Yeah. So my buddy Tim hits me up, and he was like, we're kind of hindsight. We've known each other since we were 5 years old. We were neighbors. Our dads were both police officers. We used to play army and cops as kids and all that kind of stuff, and create guns with PVC pipes, that kind of stuff. Well, he has me up. We're 18 years old at this point, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey man, I'm gonna join the Navy." He's like, "You should join with me. We'll do the buddy program." And I'm like, he's like, "We could be cops." And I was like, what we talked about as kids. I was like, all right, let's do it. So, and it was a real simple process. I mean, I hear a lot of people that try to join the military and they get denied, or something happens, and it was such an easy process. I went in there, went through MEPS, went through all that kind of stuff, and boom, I was like in boot camp within a month, it feels like. Joined boot camp in Great Lakes. It was super cold. Got to deal with that crazy weather over there. And I was a guidon in the Navy, so I gained ranked and a guidon is the one that holds the flags at the beginning of the platoon or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I had a good time. After boot camp, I was in San Antonio for my A school. Then after A school, I went to Rota, Spain. I was there for about 2 years, 11 months, OTEP there, and got out of the military. The military, I had a good time. I was in Spain, obviously. It was really lackadaisic over there. But I feel like I didn't experience the real military because it was just such a chill station.
Yeah.
We did do some water stuff. We had some, incidences on base that, were possible terrorist things. But, that wasn't really like something that we thought was real. We thought it was all just drills.
Absolutely.
But it was a good time. But in the military, I did have an incident where I was jumped actually by like 10 to 15 guys, I guess. We got an altercation. This was like 2008 time frame, and a couple of my buddies were in Guantanamo Bay prior to being in Spain.
Yeah.
And so they learned Arabic. Well, they started speaking Arabic to this guy, and it started gaining a crowd. And so this guy starts rolling up his sleeves, and I'm just like kind of pushing him back, and then he starts getting crazy. So we start, and I'm a wrestler. I've done jiu-jitsu and cage fighting, and I'm like, let's go. You know what I mean? So boom, we start fighting.
You're all about that.
Yeah. So we start going at it. Boom, I drop this guy, and then another guy comes at me. I drop him. And then I see my buddy taking on two guys, and I'm trying to help him out. He pushes him off. Then my buddy Eric, who actually recently just passed away, rest in peace. He was actually getting chased by like this group of people, and so I went around the group of people and I was like, dude, there's way too many people, we gotta roll. And at that time the guy slaps him, so they start rushing him. I push him in front of me, and they did one of those soccer trips. They kicked my foot from underneath me. I went down, and that's the last thing I remember. And so
Crazy,
what happened was my buddies say that some old man picked me up and brought me over to him. He was like, hey, man, your friend was getting hit by like 10 to 15 guys with like sticks and kicked. And I remember just coughing. You know, I couldn't breathe. And they're like, do you want to go to the hospital? I was like, no, I don't want to go to the hospital. You know, just like stupid young mentality of like, you know, thinking that you're tough. And plus, we're in the Navy, so you don't want a freaking alcohol-related incident.
Yeah.
So, but no, that after that incident, I had some major head issues. And like, it was almost like something switched in my brain. I became like really angry all the time. Like I wanted to fight all the time, like, and like abnormally want to fight all the time, not just like how I defend myself type of thing. Yeah. And so I went through like, you know, and I'm still getting treatment, you know, at the VA, but, you know, going through PTSD treatment, that kind of stuff, it kind of, it was definitely a awakening on how split second your life can change, you know. Absolutely. But also I also learned about brain plasticity and how you can actually repair your brain. You know what I mean? You don't have to be stuck in, oh, well, this is what happens. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you have like really,
I studied that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Psycho-Cybernetics is a good book for that.
I actually read that book as well.
That book?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I gave that to my son, and it's one of the top books we recommend if you're trying to reprogram your mind, that the mind can go back to, you know, being normal.
Right.
Like, you don't have to be stuck in this cycle of like craziness.
Yeah, I've actually read a book that's called The Brain That Changed Itself, and the same thing I heard about the brain plasticity, and I'm like, holy cow, there's like electric magnetic pulses that you can do for rewiring and stuff like that. I kind of got into some other things of rewiring my brain, and And you know, counseling itself, you know, talking about it really helps too.
It does. I've heard that over and over and over again.
You can kind of get through whatever you're kind of stuck on and work it out. So
I tell you what, I had planned on doing a seminar, you know, when we can get some materials together to help people that are struggling with this type of thing, because I do too. Abraham does, and there are ways to support one another, because
100%.
Having that, for me, I've seen 2,700 grand mal seizures. That's traumatic, man. When the person you love most on the planet, you see them die pretty much every year.
Yeah.
And you know, learning to
that's your wife, right?
Yeah, my wife. Yeah. Learning to frame that, and then being able to move on from that and detach from it. It's quite a process. Yeah. And you know, like with you in the fields that you've been in, seeing what you've seen and being through what you've been through. Yeah. There's a lot of value to bring to the world with your experiences, especially if you can overcome them.
True.
Right? That is amazing. All right. Well, let's move on to the next thing. So you're in the Navy, then you said you also did some service in the firefighting fire department field. Let's talk a little bit about getting in there and the things you learned there.
Yeah, so I moved to Grove, Oklahoma. I was staying with my mother, just trying to figure things out. You know, after getting out of the military, you know, you just kind of are kind of stuck at times. You know what I mean? Unless you have a plan getting out, which, you know, some people do. I didn't. And so I was staying with my mom's house. I remember seeing a rescue truck from the fire department stop at these people's houses, do their thing, get out, roll out, and I remember waving, and they waved back, and I was like, that's cool, you know what I mean? And it was like a spark that lit up in me, and I was like, you know what, I should go try. And I was like researching, I went to the library, started researching about the fire department, and there was like a silhouette. I still remember this to this day. There was a silhouette of a firefighter, and on the website it said, "This could be you." And I'm like, Roger that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I went to the fire station. I was like, hey man, I was in the Navy. I had some firsthand fire experience, and they had me fill the application, go through the process, and I got hired. And it was awesome. I mean, between riding bulls, surfing, and firefighting, like I think firefighting, like. Dude, the adrenaline, you know what I mean?
You just wanted to do it all, didn't you?
Dude, I'm just the adrenaline that you get from like being in a structure fire and you're seeing flames over you and you're just you know what I mean? Like
when you went through training that you
like actual fires.
Oh, that's like, right.
Yeah,
you had fully involved
so like actual calls, like car accidents, medical calls. And so it just started stirring things up in me, you know what I mean? Of like what I wanted. Because initially, like obviously going in the military, I was like, I want to be a cop. I love law, all this kind of stuff. Like when I was getting out, I wanted to, become a lawyer and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what? Getting into firefighting, I was just like, this is where it's at. You know what I mean? And then I went to EMT school. And going through EMT school, I really fell in love with the heart. I really fell in love with just the mechanics and how everything worked. And I was like, this is amazing, And so it's really started like diving deep into that. Got into nursing school, and then COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
2020.
Yeah, so during that time, I was getting deployed for vaccinations and stuff like that, and also working at different departments to assist because with Indian reservations, there was a lot of people that just couldn't work, right? So they were having to outsource like different companies to come and bring EMS personnel to run their crews. And so I was in Eagle Butte, South Dakota, and I'm knocking it out. We're just working, like, just having a good time out there, just seeing some crazy calls and getting a lot of trauma experience and working in the ER. And I was working in the ER. I met up with a doctor named Dr. Alkalud, and I was telling him my passion about medicine, telling my passion about wanting to help people and things like that in this type of field. And he was like, man, if you have this so much passion, he's like, why don't you become a doctor?
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess I was shooting the bar low. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, nursing is right there. It's a couple of years away. I'm knocking it out. He's like, take a walk with me. And so I would shadow with him in the ER, and we would go through, and he would just like open up and just tell me all this stuff. And I was like, man, this is awesome. Maybe I want to be a doctor, right? So I switched up my major. I went to I switched up to GCU. I was doing like a pre-health course, and I got my health science bachelor's. Well, in that process, I was also working as a medical assistant back, and I moved back to Arizona, so I worked as a medical assistant. And I was working in urology, and I was hearing people getting denied healthcare. So like people like home health care, and so I'm like, man, like this is a void that I could fill. So I started talking to nurse practitioners. One of my best friends, Taylor, he's actually my director of nursing. I was talking to him about it. He's like, yeah, this is a great idea. Talked to some investors, my friend Martine. I got him involved with his wife, and boom, we just started rocking it out. And obviously we've run into hiccups along the way with the business, but this is what we're full-fledged on focusing on, actually in-home urology too.
Yeah.
So
I want to stop you right there and just say that, hey, this is an incredible situation, because my wife was dying last year of a kidney stone, which has to do with urology. So everybody that worked with her, like maybe 1/4 of staff was urology, right? Because urology has to do with the urine line. Yeah. Okay. And so it just so happened that who he used to work for, Dr. Patel, right?
That's right.
Was the doctor that worked with my wife. Him being my student in the trade school, and then being into this business where they're going to try to go out and do urology checkups and stuff.
That's right.
This is just,
it's like all inclusive.
It's a small world, or God is just sovereign. He's providentially working
and I believe
things
that
out.
too.
And I believe that too.
Yeah.
It's like when you have a heart to serve, and when you're in the right place at the right time, there's a plan written for you. And if you can see it, and you can just lean into it and say, hey, look, I'm not going to resist the sovereign will of God. We have a life to live that he knows everything that's going to happen. And he knew that Abraham and I would meet. He knew what we were into. He knew what businesses we were into. And that's how he works. Yeah. We still don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But we're just having fun with this podcast right now, because I really enjoy doing it. I enjoy listening to people's lives, how they overcame adversity, how they didn't quit.
Yeah.
This is what his life is about. And
I appreciate that about you, Jeremy, because you don't just want to hear somebody, you actually want to listen. You would take everything that they say in, and you remember it, and you have such an awesome heart. And that's what I appreciate about you, dude, is that you are a genuine human being, and I enjoy working with you and working working for you and in the painting business too. So yeah, dude, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Dude,
and that's 100%. What we're doing here at United Especially Tradesmen Trade School. We got the painting company. We're going to be painting today after this podcast. But what I want to say is this. It's about people. It's about connection. And it's about them knowing that you truly care about their success and about them as a human being.
100%.
Without that, if I don't see that in somebody, I can sniff out that narcissism. I can sniff out that selfishness. This is not what life is about, guys. And so what we're doing right now is just we're sharing life together. And we're trying to see how many people that will listen to this, listen to Abraham's story. They're going to relate. You're going to have millions of people that say, I've been through similar experiences. I was a fighter. I was in the military. I've been through some struggles. But here's how Abraham works through it and overcomes those things.
And looking at the positive, I feel like is what I've learned throughout life is even though you have these trials, tribulations, mountains, adversity, you have to take it and use it as fuel. One book that I read too by David Goggins was Can't Hurt Me.
Yeah.
And the first time I read that book, actually I would do the audio book. I ran 8 miles, and
wow.
Well, it made me realize that the things that I went through were fuel. The things that I felt that were taking me apart or taking me down was way to just fire it on and just get on with the world. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, it's like, we're all light. You know what I mean? And it's like, how bright are you going to be? And I just want to be bright. I want to be bright as possible. And I don't want to be on fire.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, we got light. I did a podcast about on social media. There's a lot of darkness. In fact, on the internet in general.
True.
There's a lot of darkness. And so if people are on social media, they're either entertaining themselves or buying things or they're creating content. And whether that content is positive or negative, we have to decide. We have to know what is that ethical, moral line that we won't cross, and do we have a conviction to lean into a purpose of actually pushing back that darkness? And that's what I would say. Like that's what I do. And you know what? I haven't gotten a lot of hate yet. I've gotten some criticism, but if I start leaning into just telling truth that devil don't like, I'm gonna get some hate.
Yeah,
bring it. Bring the hate. I don't care. We're called to do something in this life. And I think it's in line with what God would say is to serve others in a big way where we can be a sacrifice. If we're going to be a public figure, look, you're on display. People are watching. And if you want to step into leadership, standards got to be high. Got to walk the line.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing right now. And we're just sharing our lives, really. But, hey, we need community. We need connection.
Fellowship,
we
community.
Need fellowship.
I think the Messiah also represented that well. You know what I mean? When he had his apostles with him and they would do the work and he would have them do all special things and they all had a different purpose.
They did.
You know what I mean? And I think we all have a different purpose. You have skills that, most people don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're unique. I'm unique in my own way also. And so I think when we appreciate that in others and see God in others, that we can actually really coexist in a so much more harmonious way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's an interdependency in every team. Like I was a lone wolf, dude. I flew alone as an eagle. 100%. I was like, hey, dude, I'll figure this out. I know mastery of 7 different things, and I probably got proficiency in 10 others.
Right.
Building websites, writing code, doing marketing, sales, doing bids, and doing people
managing your business.
Yeah, emails. I mean, everything, man. But now it's about not being the guy. You don't have to be the guy in your company, by the way. You don't have to be the one in front everybody gets attention to and has
you can
credit.
Delegate.
You can delegate. And actually, it's better that a leader of a team remain incognito, give all the credit to your team, and have the world see your team.
I think we both kind of are equal in that because of being older siblings. We know how to delegate.
Yeah, we know how to delegate. Yeah. Well, I would drive my kids, my siblings to school every day, and I'd have to be kind of like the big brother. My older brother, he moved out when he was 17 because he didn't like my dad at the time, and he didn't like being told what to do, so he joined the military.
That's what I did.
But anyway, he did well, and he actually has a great relationship with dad now, and
That's awesome.
He's in the Air Force as a recruiter. Younger brother's Army. All right, well, let's transition into this new endeavor, this new business that you've started. And just go ahead and say the name again.
Yeah, so it's Relief Home Care Services. We're out of Mesa, Arizona, but we're serving all of Maricopa County. We want to specialize in urology, bladder scans, catheter changes, things like that. But we're also well-rounded in doing wound care and other type of specialties that are needed. Our administrator and our lead clinician is Julia Underwood. She's actually a 20-year ICU nurse, and our director of nursing is like a 10-year case manager nurse. So a lot of experience on our team, a lot of people that are just really focused on helping people. We also have a human resources director nurse out of Florida who comes out here and kind of helps us get everything organized and sets things up from Florida as well. We also have a IT director, Sean Bingham, just a super stud on just helping us out with making sure that our website's good, all of our logistics are good within the office. And then we have Sabrina Garcia, who is our CFO. So we have a great team, and and we're just wanting to just serve the community. Currently, we had a naturopathic doctor, but because of the state regulations, we had to switch to an MD. So our MD is actually sick right now. It's Dr. Haroon Malik, who's actually with Health Point Neurodiagnostics, who actually I used to work for doing EEG techs, EEG work with him. So yeah, exactly.
So yeah, great. Well, I got one question that's really good. You can expound on this, but why is in-home medical care such a powerful alternative to traditional clinics or hospitals?
Sure. Yeah. So working in urology, I would meet a lot of patients, and sometimes they would be waiting an hour and a half to be seen, and it would just be for a 15-minute procedure done in the clinic, right? And so I would ask these patients, I'm like, hey, if we could do this service in your home, would you pay for it? And they would say, yeah. So I kept getting yes after yes after yes, and that's why I was like, okay, this is gonna be good, because not only could we charge insurances, but we could get cash pay patients also. Yeah. And it's really for the convenience of them, not having to wait an hour and a half for a 15-minute procedure. It could be done in their home, create a sterile environment, and have it done in the comfort of your home. Absolutely. Whatever it may be. So, and then we also have, with AI and with all the advanced in technology, we have telehealth. So that way, if you don't even want to go and talk to a doctor yourself, you can sit there and at your computer, your phone, and you can consult with your physician. Yeah. So we're trying to utilize advanced technology. We're trying to utilize our compassion to really just bring the care into their home, creating that sterile environment, making sure that, their family members also know, how they can help. So we're also doing education within the home too, so that we don't always have to rely on medical personnel. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You're humans just like you guys, right? So it's like you guys can learn this and you guys can do it. And it's like, as long as the patient trusts, why not? You know what
absolutely. I mean, that's a great field to go into, because then it's convenient to the patient,
correct,
to just have you guys come in, check on them, check their vitals, check their medication,
everything,
whatever they need, Exactly. And if there's something that you need to address right away and explain to them, it's like, hey, we found an issue here. You might need to take them in to the hospital. At least they don't have to go there initially. Right.
And at least you'll have a professional to state, hey, yeah, that they should go to the hospital. Yeah. One thing I realized too, starting the business and all that kind of stuff, my grandmother had passed away. And in the process of her passing away, I was learning about, advanced directives, living wills, things like that. And I'm like, hey, making sure that, grandma has this type of stuff, making sure I'm calling home other home health care businesses within her area to be like, hey, check out my grandmother, you know what I mean? And like seeing the work that they do in hospice and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do, because we can protect the elderly, because some people like to take advantage of the elderly, especially when they're passing away and they got all that money, right? Absolutely. And so like when I saw that and how people can just be so grimy no matter what
in the medical field,
even if it's family or not, and I'm like, no, this process protects the patients, protects your elderly, family members, because it makes sure that what they want is done, not what anybody else wants.
And I just want to say this, guys. Hey, look, you got a guy who has character and integrity in the medical field. If you want to hire someone for your elderly, mother or father or whoever, we want to know that this company has character and integrity. They're not going to do things that you've heard about in the medical field where people have stolen, been dishonest, lied to.
No.
And that's important to the client because coming into their house, they're a patient.
100%.
They're vulnerable, frankly, and maybe they're not as savvy with how business works, and maybe that they're older and they're easier to take advantage of. I can see how dishonesty can creep in to the medical field, and I believe it's probably more prevalent than I think. But you have a trusted business owner here in the medical field that when he launches full blown, you know what, it's lights out. And if you're watching this and you're somebody who's considering his services, I 100% endorse this guy. And so
thank you, Jeremy.
For right now, I'm going to get to a couple more questions, but I want to say this. Abraham's my friend. We have a GoFundMe. We'll probably have a couple more links maybe to try to get people to donate to this endeavor and just say, hey, look, this is a startup business. I believe 100% that he's going to launch. It's going to be super successful because he's got his ducks in a row, his T's crossed, his I's dotted. He's got all of his forms and everything that needs to be put in place. You're just waiting on being vetted and going out there and doing
a survey with the Arizona Department of Health.
And my wife is one of those patients where he's going to come and she's going to be one of the patients where
the
you check
pro bono
her out.
patients.
Yeah,
correct.
pro bono patients.
That's
So
correct.
I'm personally invested, on a
Thank you,
personal
Jeremy.
level. And so don't hesitate to click that link and give him a few dollars, give him $20, $50, $100, $200, to help him out, get him on his way so that he can get ready to serve hundreds of patients because those people need a guy like him and his team to serve them and help them with their medical needs. Okay.
Thank you.
And so to wrap this up here, Abraham, a couple more questions. I won't go through all these questions. How does this approach improve the quality of life for patients and families? I think we already went through that a little bit, and we talked about that. So I'm going to jump to another one. How do you ensure consistency and trust when sending providers to patient homes? You know that you trust your team. How do you get the clients to
Our
trust?
employees are vetted out. We go through complete background checks through the FBI, making sure that they're sober before shifts, things like that. We want to mitigate any type of possible issues that could come about with that. For us, it's making sure that we're having the proper personnel in order and making sure that we have all the paperwork in order and making sure that we have everything documented so that way there is any room for error.
That's awesome, man. Well, to wrap this up, Abraham, tell people how they can get a hold of you. This is a podcast. Tell them your website.
Sure.
If they want your email or whatever you got, go ahead and...
Sure. So my website is reliefhcs.com. My email address is abraham@reliefhcs.com. And like I said, we're located in Mesa, Arizona, 114 West Main, Suite 9. Please give us a shout if you want to set something up. And once we're ready to launch, we'd love to help you out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Abraham, for being on the first podcast of United Especially Tradesmen.
Yes,
and
sir.
We're going to do more of these and have a bunch of more studs in here just sharing their story, man.
Sounds good.
I've been inspired. I hope the people listening have been inspired and have learned something from Abraham. This business he's starting, it's going to go big. So keep a watch on him, keep an eye on him, and we'll see you on the next one, brother.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.